Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I interviewed Tobey Dodge from the Wedding Connection. She's been out of the business for a bit. She used to be a planner, but she's now connecting couples with people that work in the business. It's a good episode, really good information. Enjoy. Let's go back to the beginning
Okay.
and talk about some of the first stuff there we were talking about. So um,
Okay.
I think you were asking me about what I do and how long I've been
Yes.
doing it. So if you want to just start
Well,
there, and I will just.
I've always admired the work you have done because trying to get accurate information and the research that's really involved is a big deal. And I also wanted to do something similar, but from a different angle. I have spent over 30 years in the wedding industry and worked with around 800 couples and spoken with at least 2,000 families in that time.
Mhm.
And because I've done so many weddings, I needed to train a lot of people, and they came to me as well. So nearly 60 planners
Yeah.
I have interfaced with, and I've been active in a lot of wedding and special event related
And you were writing a book, right? I
groups.
mean, you were
Oh
working on a
yes,
book.
yes, finally. It was a 10-year endeavor actually
Mhm.
to write this book. It's called The Other Side of the Aisle. And I just wanted to find a way to bridge what I saw as a gap between what couples thought they needed as far as the level of assistance and how to communicate best with their future in-laws and frankly their siblings, because it's not just the
Yep.
parents, you know,
Yep.
it's a larger family that you're building.
Absolutely.
So I thought that if I could show couples and industry people what it was like to be an entrepreneur, you
Mhm.
know, what steps you took, and but from a family side of it rather
Sure.
than strictly business. So it's, I like to call it an instructional memoir,
Okay.
where if people are thinking of getting into any facet of the business, they learn a little bit about attitude and some of the internal thoughts and feelings that every entrepreneur has, and how family plays a role.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's because you've seen your parents work at a specific job for so many years, and it be limiting and you really want to do something on your own. Or in my case, having grown up in a family where my father especially tried to be an entrepreneur, it wasn't so easy.
It's difficult, yeah.
So I saw the ups and downs, and in doing that also show what it was like working with families and some of these situations that happen, whether it's on the wedding day or if it's personality clashes, religious challenges, but done in a story form that they can put themselves into the story
Mhm.
and kind of figure out how they might react along the way. Instead of just telling the story, I try and put in some of the challenges so that they can think it through with me.
Well, that's important because it is challenging, right? For not only for the bride and the groom or whoever's getting married, but also for the family members, the extended family that's involved. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in a wedding,
For
regardless.
sure.
It's cool to see you work on the other side of the stories, right? Because I think even the the wedding party, right? I mean, there's
Hmm.
stuff they have to go through to get there, and and there's financial stuff, and there's all kinds of commitments around this stuff. So
Right.
uh,
And there's weather. and
There's weather. Yes.
transportation issues and everything. So I did it so that couples could see realistically what happens. There's no, I mean, yes, there is a bit of drama and sensitivity, obviously,
Mhm.
to the people's situations, but it's not done for shock value or anything like that. Hopefully they can feel and sense and step into the story and realize that they do have to think through things,
Yeah.
because we've all experienced where we get so excited about buying something or
Hmm.
doing something, like we see a car and we just like, oh my God, that's it, you know? And we don't always think about the practicality of it,
Nope. Yeah.
or a house or a job. It doesn't matter, what. But the major thing is that weddings bring up change and challenge
Yep.
and hopefully, a wonderful experience. And so I tried to do that through the book. But as I mentioned to you prior, about 4 years ago, I was having some significant physical challenges, and I had to face the fact that I can't stand on my feet for 17 hours a
Yeah.
day as a planner.
Yeah.
So what I thought about is, what if I could figure out a way to ask just a handful of questions to couples, and that would reveal what level of service that they need.
Hmm.
So I'm sure most everyone thinks, well, you would ask them straightforward questions, do you want an off-premise place? Do you have a
Yeah.
huge crowd? Are there religious differences? All the obvious questions. Well, I did a 180 on that. And
Okay.
I said, what really determines how much assistance you need or not, and the type of personality that's good for you to work with, both in a planner and other services, has to really do with everyone's personalities, but their sensibilities as well. How much do they need to be in control? How
Uh,
much do they rely on other people?
mhm.
We've all met people that can't come to a decision to save their soul.
Yeah.
And then you have others that tell you, look, I just need you to expedite.
Yeah.
I know what I want. I'm going to do it. And for some people, yay, that's
Yeah.
great. I don't have to worry, convince, do anything. I'm just going to follow.
Hmm.
But there are some other services that would say, oh no, oh no. I've been in this business long enough to know that things can happen when someone has a straightforward plan and it blows up. And then
Yeah.
what do you do?
Right.
So you have to know yourself. So what I did is I asked these questions of both the services, and I consider a planner a service
Yeah.
too, and the couples. And it was amazing what came out of it, because I mean, it sounds very strange, but at a wedding fair, I would go around to couples and I would say, I need a brave bride. Are there any brave brides here? And I have to admit, some of them looked at me like I was a little nuts, but many of them said, I am. I said, great. I'm going to, and it won't be kept. This is just for experimental reasons.
Hmm.
But I'm going to ask you about 6 to 8 questions. And I want you to be as honest as you can, because it's for you. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's for you to find out what kind of help you need and what kind of personality would be best for you to work with, no matter what the service is.
Hmm.
And it took about 10 minutes for them, to read the questions, because
Sure.
they're not real easy questions.
Sure.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah. Give us an example.
For a woman, you're going shoe shopping. Are you the type of person that knows about 3 different manufacturers that you love. So you'll go to stores that have those manufacturers, try on and make your decision because you know what you like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or are you the type of person that is a major troller online and you will seek out and look at everything possible until you make your final decision?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you the type of person that considers shoe shopping a social engagement and you take a friend, your mom, whoever you want to, and it's, you know, entertainment as much as it is buying a pair of shoes? So those are the type of questions. And believe it or not, they're accurate.
Yeah. So based on what they answer, you can kind of determine what type of personality they are and who to connect them with.
Yes. So there, and so what I found out that there were 4 major, I would say, pockets that
Okay.
someone comes in. Now, each of those pockets have variations, and that's the beginning of building an algorithm is
Mhm.
what we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So from that, and there were different fields. I would say there was a total of probably 1,000 data points that we took and could expand on that. But the strength of it was the testing to see if they related to
Mm-hmm.
what we said. And what we did is we gave them a paragraph, maybe 2 in some cases, that described who they were
Mm-hmm.
in principle and who they would like to work with.
Sure.
And it's crazy. I didn't have one turned down.
Nice. That's
And
awesome.
now there's a reason for that. It's not that I'm a Houdini here, but what it is that we sparked enough of what was true and what they honestly wanted to believe.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And so that felt comfortable for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say it really helped me when talking to couples, because now what I do is they call me or they find me through other people, and I determine the type of personality, and then I recommend sites and services for them. Or depending on the level of service they need, I recommend the correct planner for them.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
good.
they do all of the suggestions. And that's usually what happens. It's very rare that I, give them a lot of information because it takes more time, frankly,
Have you done any
involvement.
more like evaluation of those questions around other like economic patterns or anything like that? I know I'm getting really geeky on you here, but
Oh, no, you're not getting geeky, because let me tell you, I made avatars, and I did just what you're saying.
Mhm.
I took all of the stats and I saved the stats from the weddings I did, which
Mhm.
is I felt a really good cross section,
Sure.
because I not only saw the ranges over 30 years, but I also saw the prices and how that related to their personalities. And the reason I built the avatars was because I wanted to get a full picture.
Sure. Sure.
And part of that is, frankly, what planners do anyway. Um, and I know we were talking about not revealing secret sauces and all, but I do want to reveal this
Okay.
because I believe it is the key for any service and site to really know if this couple family is right for them.
Mhm.
And, depending on what service you are, or if you're a site, there are different priorities.
Sure.
So what we did with sites that we spoke with, we asked them questions to find out what their ideal couple would be. And the reason for that is because today there are so many ways to find people. There's so much information out there that it takes so much time to really connect with someone and for them to make a decision. I mean, unless you just have terrific chemistry and it just, works out.
If your friends and family are recommending someone, you probably have a little bit of a leg up because you've either seen them before, or at another event, or you feel comfortable because someone in your family recommended them.
Absolutely.
But if not, right, you're literally just searching all the things that kind of meet your criteria, and then you have to figure out, are we a good fit? Do the personalities work? There's a lot of effort that goes into that.
And what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And I saw a tremendous change in a trend. Years ago, someone would say, oh, well, talk to Toby, she'll help you. I think, she did our wedding or whatever. They don't always gear that themselves. I mean, they like getting the recommendations. They really do. But they have to feel right about you. And the way they do it is visually.
Yeah.
So the visual presentation of somebody's website and Instagram and Pinterest and every other platform you can imagine, they take it all in. Where you live, if their friend is similar to them or not.
Yeah.
So they have so many more data points than 15, 20, 30 years ago. So the process has changed. So yes, they definitely, the first place they go would be family and friends. But it's not as secure as it was some time ago.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, because of the internet and the availability to buy a house, to buy a car, insurance, do so much online dispassionately. That's another really complaint that I have heard over the years, especially in the last 5 years, where planners and other services and sites say, well, I get these emails or these inquiries like, what do you do and how much do you charge? I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
And because they assume that everyone is pretty much the same.
Yeah. Well, part of that, I think the reason is because they don't share enough information on their site about starting prices. I mean, everything is custom in this business, right? So, I mean, you can have a package, but at the end of the day, really, there's so many different things that go into everything that it's not that set price, right? So some things can be set prices, but for the most part, it's layered on. But I think if people just shared, hey, my stuff starts at this price, and here's what we do, I think that would alleviate some of those things. But people are getting better at doing that. But I think a lot of businesses are leery of doing that for whatever reason.
Well, I agree with you. I think most services are kind of concerned about saying specific prices. So, and I do a fair amount of counseling with services and sites, especially in the last 5 years. So you'll excuse me, I gotta get just a bit of water.
Sure, no
Didn't expect to talk so much.
It's okay.
Water break. Okay. So the real challenge here is letting people know at least a range, and your prices begin at.
Yep.
And that's important to have ground rules, so to speak,
Yeah, I mean, like if you could just say to them, my prices start at $5,000. you eliminate so many people that aren't even going to want to talk to you because that's not even in their head, right? Could some of those people be in your head, or like, yeah, I might want, yeah, but for the most part, if you're thinking, oh, I want this thing and I'm not willing to pay more than $2,000 in the start, and you show your starting price is five, you're not even going to need to have a conversation with those people. And that's where I think businesses miss out on, just by saying that, here's my starting price, you automatically qualify or disqualify people.
Well, that certainly is an important gauge. What I also share is that if you are the type of person, and this is really important, this is part of why I did the questionnaires and the surveys and the algorithm, was for services especially, for them to recognize what's best for them.
Yeah.
Because there's a tendency is, oh, I can do everything. Or I'm flexible, and some, I can do a day of, and I can do a full service. And yes, there are certain people and certain personalities that are great for that. But there are many people who actually, just like you said, shouldn't even entertain anybody under a certain figure. And it's not because of what they want to make. It's because of their natures.
Yeah.
So, not getting too psychological here,
Sure.
the thing is, if you have a quality standard, if you are the type of person that is so hands-on that you want to literally take somebody, and it's important to you to see that the project from start to finish, and avoid errors along the way, and foresee things and help people, then why in the heck are you doing a day of situation?
Mm-hmm.
And now that term has evolved into, I'm sure, many different formats,
Sure.
but the idea is you gotta have a
Mm-hmm.
good fit.
Yeah.
It's just when someone buys the guitar
Mm-hmm.
behind you, it's gotta feel right,
It does, yes.
you know? And it's not only in the physical sense, but the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think you can only gather that,
There's
frankly.
lots of it. Go like just using that as a great example. I mean, it's the playability of the guitar, it's the look of the guitar, it's it's the sound that comes out of it, it's the feeling of it. So there's multiple pieces that go into saying,
Exactly.
I like this guitar. This guitar works for me. Obviously, you're attracted to it because it immediately, oh, that looks like a really cool guitar. But if you
Yeah.
pick it up and you start playing in it and it's really difficult to play, or the pickups don't sound very good, then you're like, yeah, I'm moving on to something else. So you're right. It's exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's, happen to be married to a musician as well. So
Nice.
so I am sensitive to that. But I would hope that going forward, that both couples and planners and services and sites would recognize that because we have all this information available to us, then why not use it to our
Hmm.
benefit? Not only in research, as you provide, but in making those decisions to just pare down, to focus
Hmm.
on what really is going to be best for them.
Hmm.
Most couples now don't spend as much time planning their weddings as they used to. You still get the people who are 18 months in
Yes.
advance
Yeah.
or a year, but from my information and
Well,
observation,
yeah, it's less.
it's 9 to 6 months.
Hmm.
And there are plenty that are even shorter than that, but their expectations are different
Yeah.
when they're shorter than that.
Sure.
A standard wedding.
Hmm.
So the people who are getting the prime locations as they view it are willing to do that at least a year in advance
Hmm. Or more.
or more. Yes, because I even have spoken with a bride that was 20 months ahead,
Wow.
which was a lot. And I said, did they want to book it that far in advance? Because there are some locations that, for bar mitzvahs and certain
Events.
religious or cultural, they have to do that
Sure.
because it's a 3-year commitment from when they start their training, religious training. But
Right.
there are many that don't. And now with the flexibility, and I almost call them pop-up weddings, frankly,
Hmm.
when they decide to have a couple of trucks, I've known couples to use the parking lot, of a bank, that's open and flat, string lights, as long as there's a water source
Yeah.
on the side of the building and parking, street parking, and they can get the permit,
Yeah.
if needed from the city and whatever. Oh my God.
Yeah. Little pop-up wedding. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just amazing, what is available. And as you can see, I still have passion for
Sure. I can tell.
the the industry, but it's really people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I know we're coming time wise
Yeah. I want to
to
value your time here. So go ahead.
um, to a closure, but it's really about the people.
Yeah. So I think so. The last thing, what parting words would you have for couples, and then what parting words would you have for businesses for today?
I think for couples to try and enjoy the process, not to put pressure on themselves too much,
Hmm.
to realize that the most important thing is to be surrounded with people that want to be there and that you want to be there
Yeah.
with them. It sounds kind of basic and corny, but
No, it's true.
it's the truth because I've witnessed beautiful weddings visually, but I know a good third of the people attending, it was a duty. It
Mhm.
wasn't a pleasure.
Sure.
And what people don't realize is that makes a huge difference on the atmosphere, the energy
Hmm.
of the event. And I think I would end by telling couples that whatever you're thinking, whatever you're valuing, if you have a challenge and you have a decision to make, to try and project themselves 5 or 10 years in the future.
Hmm.
Do you think it's going to mean as much to you in 10 years, 5 years, as it does today?
Yeah.
Because I've had situations where families have had to, and you wouldn't think that this, it doesn't always apply to money.
Right.
It's like who walks you down the aisle
Mhm.
sometimes can be a tremendous challenge, especially if you have divorced parents or a parent that's passed away. And
Yeah.
are you walking in alone? Or is someone else going to take their place?
Mhm.
And I had a situation with a mother of the groom and the groom where she wanted her brother to, or meaning the groom's uncle,
Yeah.
to walk down. It happened to be a Jewish wedding, and the groom, right in front of me, and the father of the bride and the bride said, "I like my uncle, but he'll never take the place of my father.
Right.
And I know you're doing this because it'll make you feel more comfortable
Hmm.
having him because you really love your brother,
Yeah.
but it's not the same for me.
Hmm.
And I want to just walk down with you."
Hmm.
Now, this mother kind of says, well, I'm paying for this wedding.
Mm.
And I'm not saying this to hold it over your head,
But you kind of are.
but she is, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and because we have a family and I'm trying to build that family. And she even said, well, how about if um instead of my brother, maybe your grandfather. And the grandfather, God bless him, wasn't in any shape. I mean, she was
She was caught
casting
up in
out.
wanting to have it a certain way, and
Exactly.
it was about
So,
her more than him.
right. And you could tell that the bride, if there was a hole in the floor, she would have gone in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And the father of the bride, had his own problems because the mother, they had divorced and there was other issues. So they're looking like, oh my God, this is going to be something else. So that's when I said to them, look, I think you both have to ask yourselves this question.
Mm-hmm.
And if it means so much for you to have your brother walk you down, I'm going to make a suggestion that you have, because they had a long walk where they were getting married.
Yeah.
Why don't you have your brother walk you to the back of the chairs? Because it wasn't a huge wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And then your son will walk alone to you. And when he reaches you, your brother will go ahead of you and sit down,
Mm-hmm.
so that when you are walking together, you're surrounded by your family and friends.
Yeah.
They went for it,
It's awesome.
which I was thrilled.
Yeah.
But I asked them to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Would they feel as strongly about their feelings right now
Yeah.
in the future? And I think that kind of broke the ice
Sure.
for
Makes
them.
sense. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that would be my core suggestion.
Okay.
And for services, I think, and this is really hard because for the first, I think, 10 years of my business, I was a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I came through to this industry very serendipitously. And so we all have those insecurities where we wonder, if I don't take this job, am I going to have enough money to feed my family?
Right.
And for the first 4 years, I was working 3 jobs, doing weddings on the weekends and 2 other jobs part-time during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And with 2 kids in 2 different schools, let me tell you,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I should have been wearing roller skates all the time. But what I recognized was, if I really felt secure about what I had to offer, and I did not come to this industry in my 20s, I came to it in my late 30s. So I had some background,
Sure.
and I think that makes a difference too, that you feel strongly enough and value yourself enough, because if you do, others will too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just feel that that is the bottom line, that you have to value yourself and what you offer, and to recognize your uniqueness. Now, for me, my unique qualities were that I had been a volunteer for many years in nonprofit.
Yeah.
So I actually understood events from a standpoint of planning, because
Mm-hmm.
I was always a part of a committee or a chair or whatever. So that wasn't, hard for me. I had been an art teacher, so I was creative.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So that wasn't the challenge. for me, it was figuring out, how am I going to do this while I'm doing other things?
Mm-hmm.
So it was organization, it was time planning. It was trying to learn as much as I could about the industry without, and, because if you're going to be a planner, you have to feel confident about the services and
Sure.
the sites.
Yep. Yep.
So if someone finds themselves in that situation, how I handled it was, okay, I have to learn quickly who's who,
Mm-hmm.
what's what,
Yeah.
and how much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I did is I went to 4 wedding events, meaning shows. They use fairs, they use all kinds of words, encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And my purpose was obviously to talk to as many couples, but not to book them necessarily. What I wanted to do in the very beginning was to learn as much as I could about their natures, what they were looking for, what they valued, and to meet as many services and learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I use those days to
Build
really,
relationships, right? I mean, really about building relationships, understanding.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and joined associations. Not all were in the wedding field, because when I started, there was basically just the Association of Bridal Consultants. Now there's tons to
Yeah.
choose from.
Lots, yeah.
But I also joined a civic group,
Mm-hmm.
whether, it's a Rotary type one or a community-based group of some sort, because you want to reach and understand the families.
Yep.
How better
Yep. It's perfect.
to understand their mentalities?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, and whether you're starting out or whether you've been there for a while, this kind of information is really good.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'm going to say is something you're going to like, hopefully, and that is embrace tech. And you're looking at somebody who really, I fought it and fought it and fought it, but I finally embraced it. And even though my endeavor did not come to pass in the way that I had anticipated,
Sure.
and as far as the presence that I wanted to have online,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the experience and hopefully the opportunities that we gave others to join us, even though monetarily it was not successful, was immeasurably valuable
Yeah.
in going forward. And I still attend on a weekly basis tech meetings, because it over many industries, a general tech group, because it's going to give you insight into where our society as in general is moving,
Yep.
what services, the behaviors, and that's going to give everybody a clue
Mm-hmm.
as to how I should present myself
Yep.
to others.
Yep.
So I can say embrace.
Yeah. Awesome. Tobey, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
All right. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.